guests. We have Josh Kolsrud with us here on this Tuesday because yesterday were talking about the Tyler Robinson case. He is the individual that is accused of killing the conservative activist Charlie Kirk. This all started yesterday, and this is a preliminary hearing. So first of all, let's just start at the very beginning. What exactly is a preliminary hearing? What are they going to be doing over these next, I guess, 4 days? Because yesterday was the first day.
Yeah, so there are two ways that charges can become official. The first way is the one that we all kind of know about. It's called a grand jury, and it's a secret proceeding, and a grand jury is presented evidence by the prosecutor, and then they either find that there's probable cause or they don't. Now, the second way is a little bit more unusual, and that is a preliminary hearing. And a preliminary hearing, it's the same concept, but instead of a secret proceeding in front of grand jurors, it's conducted before a judge, and the judge determines whether or not probable cause exists. Now, the biggest difference is that in front of a grand jury, defense attorneys are not allowed to be in there ever. But when it's done as a preliminary hearing, they're allowed not only to be there, but they're allowed to ask questions to the government's witnesses. So it's unusual in this case because you would think that in a high-profile capital punishment case, that the prosecutors would just want to do this secretly and not give the defense attorneys an opportunity to question their witnesses and also an opportunity to see what their case is about. So there are a lot of unusual things about this entire situation.
Can I back up one more step?
Yes.
So how do you decide if it's going to be a grand jury case or a preliminary hearing, which we're seeing now?
It's up to the prosecutors. Now, the reason why they're doing this, I think, is because the prosecutors had a huge misstep a few weeks ago. And that was the judge ordered both the defense and the prosecutors not to talk to the media. And one of the prosecutors went to not only one station, but 3 different stations, including TMZ, and talked about how great their evidence was and almost tried to do the entire trial on those news stations in violation of the court orders. Now, the judge said that the attorney responsible is being held in contempt. And the defense attorneys are asking the court for a remedy, which is to take the death penalty off the table. So right now, the number one thing that the defense attorneys want to do is to get the death penalty off the table. And, you know, that may happen. And because of what the prosecutors did, bragging about the evidence, you know, now they have to kind of show that they actually do have the evidence, because what they don't want is for this case to come back on appeal because of missteps that they had at the beginning stages of the trial. Because ordinarily, a preliminary hearing only lasts a day, but this is scheduled for all week. I mean, they're going to be showing all of their cards. They're putting on a ton of witnesses, which is almost never happens, especially on a high-profile capital punishment case.
And is the whole purpose of this to determine if it's going to be charged as a capital punishment?
Well, that's one of the things. Okay. So the judge is going to determine, number one, you know, is there enough evidence to go forward on the charges, like the homicide and so forth. The second thing the judge has to consider is whether or not the aggravating factors are present that allow the death penalty to even occur. So in Utah and Arizona, just because somebody is killed doesn't mean that they're eligible for the death penalty. There has to be something else that enhances the situation. And here, what the government is saying is that the way in which Charlie Kirk was assassinated not only killed him, obviously, but also endangered everybody else that was there and placed those people at serious risk of death or serious physical harm. So that's the aggravating factor that the judge is going to have to consider.
Got it. Okay.
Yesterday, I think a lot of folks were talking about, excuse me, obviously we expect the family of Charlie Kirk to be there, as well as his wife, Erica, but also in the audience, Donald Trump Jr. and his wife showed up. Is that in any way, shape, or form on either side maybe trying to sway people to be like, look at kind of the force we have behind us? Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, optically, it shows how much attention this trial is getting from the country. And it shows its historical importance, right? But, you know, will that sway a jury in the future? You know, who can say?
Sure.
But it does give a lot of attention to a case that already has a lot of attention. And, you know, obviously, you expect Erica Kirk to be there. You know, I was a little bit surprised maybe that Donald Trump Jr. was there, because there is a political component that kind of attaches itself to that to him being there. And what you don't want as a prosecutor is for something to negatively affect your case. And what I wouldn't want is for a juror to say that this person's not guilty because they know that Donald Trump Jr. is supporting the prosecution or something like that. So, you know, it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
And what happens, so once this is all wrapped up, hopefully by Friday, what happens from here? What is the next step? When would an actual case or a jury trial be arranged for?
So I fully expect that the judge to find probable cause that these crimes were committed and that the aggravating circumstances will allow the death penalty. So after this starts, well, after he finds probable cause on Friday, we'll have a trial date, and it'll probably be set for either the end of this year or early next year. And once somebody is indicted, which is what will happen here, then you have discovery deadlines, you have motion deadlines, and everybody will be preparing for trial. Now, whenever you have a death penalty case, there are no plea agreements. So don't expect the defendant to plead guilty. However, you know, I'm looking at this case, and everybody's saying that, you know, the evidence is overwhelming, including myself, and you kind of expect there to be the death penalty. But we've also seen the same kind of perception in other cases, such as Brian Kohberger, for instance, or Jodi Arias, you know, two people that we know a lot about, where at the beginning of the case, everybody is saying the evidence is overwhelming, there's got to be a death penalty, they're both going to get it. But at the end of the day, they didn't get it. And that's because of missteps by the prosecution. And here, again, there has already been a huge misstep with, you know, the violation of the prosecution going to the media when they knew they were not allowed to do that. And if they have another misstep like that, I mean, that could ruin the death penalty for the Kirk family.
All right, while we're talking, I just want to